You break your arm right now? Ambulance, hospital, x-ray, a doctor who's treated this exact injury 100 times. Painkillers strong enough that within a few hours you barely remember it happened. Now take all of that away. You break your arm 50,000 years ago, 3 days walk from anyone else, and the bone is visibly wrong under your skin. That was the baseline condition of being human for over 99% of our species' existence. No hospitals, no painkillers stronger than whatever grew nearby. And yet, ancient humans weren't helpless against pain. They built an entire system for managing it. Plants, surgery, even psychology, and some of it worked disturbingly well. Let's find out how. The assumption most people carry is that before modern medicine, pain was just endured, gritted through. That's mostly wrong. Dental tartar recovered from Neanderthal remains in Spain has tested positive for chemical residues consistent with poplar bark, a natural source of salicylic acid, the same compound aspirin is built from. A species that went extinct 40,000 years ago may have understood, on some working level, the same pain relief your medicine cabinet uses today. Ancient humans weren't stumbling in the dark. They were running the longest trial and error experiments in history, and the survivors passed down what worked. Willow and poplar bark both contain salicin, a natural anti-inflammatory. Evidence of its use for pain shows up across ancient Egypt, ancient Sumer, and indigenous cultures in North America, independently on different continents. That's not coincidence. That's different populations solving the same problem and landing on the same answer. Opium poppy cultivation dates back roughly 5,000, 6,000 years in the Mediterranean and Near East. Ancient Mesopotamian physicians referred to it in terms that translate to joy plant. They understood it didn't just dull pain, it changed how the mind experienced it. Then there were the dangerous ones, datura, henbane, mandrake, sedating in the right dose, lethal in the wrong one. Figuring out that line required exactly the kind of careful, repeated observation we associate with clinical trials, except every mistake was a person, not a data point. Ancient humans didn't stop at herbs. They performed surgery, real, bone-deep surgery with no anesthesia and no sterile tools. The clearest evidence is trepanation, cutting a hole directly into the skull, found on every inhabited continent, some sites over 7,000 years old. Here's the detail that should stop you. Archaeologists can tell which patient survived because the bone shows healing around the hole. In some skull samples, survival rates run well over 50%, with sharpened stone tools, no anesthesia beyond whatever plants were available. That skill wasn't improvised, knowing where to cut, how deep, how to keep the patient alive. That was learned and passed down, and someone had to hold still through it all, which means real pain suppression, chemical or psychological, was working in the background. Here's the part almost nobody talks about. Pain isn't purely physical. It's a signal interpreted by a brain, and that interpretation can be shifted by belief, ritual, and context. We call this the placebo effect today and treat it like an inconvenience. Ancient healers treated it like a tool, a procedure performed by a designated healer in a specific place with ritual and community present. That's not just theater. Modern research shows context and expectation measurably change how much pain a person experiences. Ancient humans had thousands of years of outcomes telling them ritual worked, so they built entire medical systems around it. And there's the simplest tool of all, other people. Archaeological sites show evidence of severely injured individuals being kept alive by their group for years. Isolation makes suffering worse. Community makes it bearable. Ancient humans understood that as clearly as they understood which bark to chew. For most of human history, childbirth was a leading cause of death for women, and it produced one of the most sophisticated pain management systems in the ancient world. Midwifery is arguably one of the first specialized professions, built on knowledge passed almost entirely through oral tradition between women, labor positions, herbs to ease contractions, how to physically turn a poorly positioned baby. Childbirth wasn't solitary, it was communal. attended, supported. That support functioned as pain management in a very real sense, the same way modern research is now confirming doula-style support measurably reduces perceived pain today. Much of this specialized knowledge was later lost or dismissed, in large part because it was knowledge controlled by women outside formal medical institutions. Ancient humans knew more about this than a lot of later history did. Willow bark chewed for a headache. A skull opened with a stone blade. A woman in labor surrounded by others who'd done this before and lived. None of it was random. It was a scientific method running slowly, with no labs, for tens of thousands of years before anyone called it science. Every painkiller in your medicine cabinet descends from someone thousands of years ago, noticing that one plant did something no other plant did. Every surgery performed under anesthesia today descends from someone who once held still while their skull was opened with stone, trusting a system built on nothing but accumulated knowledge and each other. So go back to that broken arm. Alone in the forest, no hospital. You'd still survive it, not because ancient humans had modern medicine, but because they'd built something almost as good out of plants, stone, ritual, and each other. That's not primitive. That's the foundation everything else was built on.